Welcome, the Spicy Lady. Not everyone will dislike you for the wrong reasons. Some people dislike you because you refuse to play small. This topic is uncomfortable because it touches a truth most people avoid. Some women get disliked before they even speak. Not because they are rude, not because they are loud, but because their presence quietly disrupts what others rely on to feel secure. The SpicyLady-Sigma often experiences this kind of reaction early. The dislike shows up fast, sometimes without explanation, and often without logic. In everyday life, people are used to patterns. They expect certain behaviors, emotional responses, and social signals. When someone does not fit neatly into those expectations, confusion turns into judgment. The SpicyLady-Sigma does not move on autopilot. She observes more than she reacts. She thinks before she speaks. She chooses her energy carefully. To some people that feels threatening, even if nothing is being done wrong. This hatred is rarely loud at first. It shows up as cold shoulders, quiet resistance, subtle exclusion, or strange assumptions. People project motives onto her that do not exist. They label her as difficult, distant, or intimidating simply because they cannot read her easily. And when people cannot understand someone, they often try to control the narrative instead. This is not about superiority. It is about difference. Being different in a world that rewards sameness comes with a price. This introduction is not meant to glorify being disliked. It is meant to explain why it happens first, why it feels confusing, and why it has very little to do with character flaws. Understanding this changes how you carry yourself and how seriously you take opinions that were never earned in the first place. Let's dive in deeper. Point 1. They live by principles, not opinions, and that single choice shapes how the world responds to them. Most people move according to what gets approval in the moment. They adjust their tone, their values, even their decisions depending on who is watching. A SpicyLady-Sigma does the opposite. She carries an inner code that does not change based on applause or pressure. That alone makes people uneasy. Living on principles means she knows where she stands before a situation even appears. If something feels wrong, she steps away even if everyone else is clapping. If something feels right, she commits even when no one is cheering. To outsiders, this can look like stubbornness or pride. In reality, it is clarity. She is not confused about who she is, and that level of certainty exposes how unsure others feel inside. Imagine a workplace where gossip is normal and bending rules is rewarded quietly. Most people go along to stay liked. The SpicyLady-Sigma does not join the gossip and does not cut corners. She keeps her distance and does her work properly. Suddenly, she is labeled difficult. Not because she caused trouble, but because her consistency makes others question their own compromises. In friendships, the same pattern shows up. When everyone agrees just to keep the peace, she speaks honestly or chooses silence instead of fake agreement. People mistake that for coldness, but the truth is simpler. She refuses to say what she does not believe just to fit in. That kind of integrity is rare, and rarity often attracts resistance before respect. What many fail to understand is that principles are not weapons. They are anchors. They keep her steady when emotions run high and opinions shift daily. While others are exhausted from trying to please everyone, she conserves her energy by staying aligned with herself. That calm strength can be misread as arrogance by those who depend on external approval to feel secure. This is why she often faces resistance early. People are not reacting to what she says. They are reacting to what she represents. A reminder that you can live honestly without constant adjustment. A reminder that self-respect does not need permission. And for those who have built their lives on pleasing others, that reminder can feel deeply uncomfortable. Point 2. They do not gossip or scheme, and that simple choice creates more tension than most people realize. In many social spaces, gossip is not just idle talk. It is currency. It is how alliances are built, how power is measured, and how people protect themselves without saying things directly. When a woman refuses to take part in that system, it unsettles everyone who depends on it. The SpicyLady-Sigma listens more than she speaks. When conversations turn into tearing others down, she either changes the subject or removes herself quietly. She does not carry stories from one person to another. She does not collect secrets to use later. To people who thrive on indirect control, this behavior feels dangerous. They cannot predict her moves because she does not play the same game. Take a common workplace situation. A group gathers during breaks to complain about a colleague or mock a supervisor. Most join in because silence feels risky. The spicy Lady Sigma stays focused on her work or keeps her comments neutral. Over time, she becomes the odd one out. Not because she caused conflict, but because her refusal highlights how normal the behavior has become. Her presence becomes a mirror, and many do not like what they see reflected back. Transparency also means she speaks directly when something matters. If there is an issue, she addresses it calmly instead of whispering behind backs. This exposes the inefficiency of gossip and makes scheming look childish. People who rely on side conversations to maintain influence feel threatened, so they label her as blunt, distant, or hard to work with. What others miss is that this way of living creates peace. Without gossip, there is less confusion. Without schemes, there is less anxiety. She sleeps better because her words do not change depending on who is listening. That kind of consistency builds quiet strength, even if it attracts resistance at first. The hatred often comes from exposure, not offense. Her clarity reveals how much energy people waste managing appearances and narratives. When someone chooses honesty over drama, it forces others to confront their own habits. And instead of changing, many choose resentment. In the long run, this quality becomes her protection. People may misunderstand her early, but they learn they can trust her later. She becomes the person whose words carry weight because they are clean. In a world crowded with noise, that kind of integrity is rare, and rarity is often judged before it is valued. 3. They avoid drama, yet they're often blamed for it. This sounds backwards, but it happens more often than people admit. In a world where chaos creates excitement and attention, gives people a sense of importance, choosing calm can feel like an insult. The spicy Lady Sigma does not fuel emotional storms. She steps aside, watches quietly, and refuses to be pulled into unnecessary conflict. That choice alone makes her a target. Drama survives on reactions. It needs an audience, allies, and emotional responses to stay alive. When someone refuses to react, the energy has nowhere to go. Instead of looking inward, people look for someone to blame. The spicy Lady Sigma becomes an easy target because she did not play a role in the emotional theater everyone else participated in. Think about a friend group arguing over a misunderstanding. Voices rise, sides are chosen, and old issues resurface. While most people jump in to defend themselves or attack others, she remains calm and listens. She does not take sides without understanding the full picture. Later, when the dust settles, someone accuses her of being distant or uncaring. The truth is not that she lacked concern. It is that she refused to add fuel to a fire that was already burning. Neutrality threatens attention seekers because it exposes their need to be seen. When someone does not react, does not panic, and does not chase emotional highs, it removes the spotlight. For those who rely on emotional intensity to feel important, calm feels like rejection. They mistake composure for coldness and restraint for lack of empathy. There is also power in not rushing to judgment. The spicy Lady Sigma understands that most conflicts are temporary, driven by emotions that pass. By staying grounded, she protects her peace and her relationships. But to people who live in extremes, balance looks suspicious. Blame often follows maturity. When someone refuses to join chaos, others project their discomfort onto her. They call her detached because they cannot access her emotionally in the way they want. Yet over time, patterns reveal the truth. Drama follows those who chase it. Calm follows those who choose it. In the end, her silence is not emptiness. It is awareness. Her distance is not cruelty. It is discernment. And while she may be misunderstood at first, her steady presence becomes a quiet lesson. You do not have to be loud to be present, and you do not have to bleed emotionally to prove you care. Point 4. They keep secrets like fortresses, and this alone makes many people uncomfortable. Not because secrets are harmful, but because access has become a form of control in modern relationships. People are used to oversharing, explaining themselves, and laying their inner world open for inspection. When someone chooses privacy, it disrupts that expectation. The spicy Lady Sigma understands that not everything needs to be explained. She shares selectively, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Her inner world is not open to casual curiosity. This restraint creates a sense of distance that others often misread as distrust or superiority. In truth, it is simply self-protection. Many people feel close to others only when they have information they can use. Details become leverage. Emotions become pressure points. When someone refuses to hand over those details, it removes the usual tools of influence. This is where resentment begins. People feel excluded not because they were wrong, but because they were not given access they assumed they deserved. Imagine a social circle where everyone knows everyone's business. Who is struggling? Who is arguing? Who is uncertain? The spicy Lady Sigma listens, supports when needed, but keeps her own life private. Questions are answered briefly. Emotional moments are handled quietly. Over time, whispers start. She is called secretive or hard to read. What truly bothers people is not the secrecy. It is the loss of control. Unpredictability makes manipulation impossible. When people cannot anticipate your reactions or exploit your vulnerabilities, they feel powerless. Instead of respecting boundaries, some interpret them as rejection. The resentment that follows is often disguised as criticism or suspicion. What many fail to see is that privacy creates strength. By guarding her inner life, she avoids unnecessary interference and emotional chaos. She makes decisions without external pressure. She moves with intention, not influence. This level of autonomy unsettles those who rely on emotional access to feel relevant. Keeping secrets is not about hiding. It is about choosing what deserves light and what deserves silence. The spicy Lady Sigma knows that intimacy loses value when it is given too freely. Trust once broken cannot be reclaimed by explanations. In time, her quiet nature reveals its purpose. People learn that what she does share is real. Her words carry weight because they are rare. And while some will always resent what they cannot access or control, others will come to respect her boundaries. In a world that confuses openness with strength, her privacy becomes her power. 5. They see through facades instantly, and that ability unsettles people more than open confrontation ever could. Most individuals walk around wearing carefully built masks. Some are polite masks, some are confident masks, and some hide insecurity or fear. These facades help people function socially, but they also protect egos. When someone sees past them without effort, it feels like exposure. The spicy Lady Sigma does not interrogate or accuse. She simply observes. She notices inconsistencies between words and actions, between tone and intent. While others get distracted by charm or performance, she pays attention to patterns. This awareness makes people uneasy because it removes their sense of control. They realize the version of themselves they present is not fully believed. Imagine someone who constantly speaks about kindness but treats service workers poorly. Others may ignore it to keep the peace. The spicy Lady Sigma clocks it instantly. She does not call it out publicly, but her energy shifts. She creates distance. The person senses this change and feels judged, even though no words were exchanged. That silent recognition feels more threatening than criticism. People hate being seen clearly when they are not ready to be honest with themselves. Even subtle exposure can trigger defensiveness. A raised wall, a sudden coldness, or a narrative that paints her as suspicious or arrogant often follows. It is easier to attack the observer than confront the truth being reflected back. This ability is not about superiority. It comes from experience, reflection, and emotional intelligence. She has learned how people behave when they are sincere and when they are pretending. That knowledge sharpens perception. It also creates distance from those who rely heavily on appearances to move through life. Facades work best when everyone agrees to play along. The moment someone does not, the system weakens. The spicy Lady Sigma becomes a disruption. Not because she exposes people loudly, but because she refuses to be fooled. Her quiet discernment removes the reward for pretending. Over time, people either respect her or resent her. Those who value honesty feel safe around her. Those who depend on image feel threatened. The dislike she receives often has little to do with her actions and everything to do with what she sees. In the end, her clarity is a filter. It repels deception and attracts authenticity. And while being able to see through facades may cost her easy acceptance, it protects her from false connections. That protection is worth the discomfort it creates in others. Point 6. They are comfortable being alone, and that comfort unsettles people more than open independence ever could. Society quietly teaches that being alone means something is missing. That solitude is a problem to fix. When someone genuinely enjoys their own company, it challenges that belief at its core. The SpicyLady-Sigma does not treat alone time as punishment. She treats it as a place of clarity. Most people use constant connection as a distraction. Noise fills the gaps where self-reflection should live. When someone steps away from that noise without fear, it forces others to confront what they are avoiding. This is where resentment begins. Comfort in solitude highlights dependence in others, and dependence rarely likes being exposed. Think about how often people stay in draining friendships or unhealthy relationships just to avoid loneliness. The SpicyLady-Sigma chooses differently. She would rather be alone than surrounded by energy that feels heavy or dishonest. To some, this looks cold or antisocial. In reality, it is discernment. She understands that peace is not found in numbers, but in alignment. True self-sufficiency removes leverage. When someone does not need constant company to feel whole, they are harder to pressure, guilt, or control. This makes people uneasy. They cannot use absence as a threat or attention as a bargaining chip. Instead of admiring this strength, many react with judgment, labeling her as distant or strange. There is also a quiet confidence that comes from enjoying your own presence. It shows in how she makes decisions, how she carries herself, and how little she rushes to fill silence. People sense that steadiness and misinterpret it as emotional distance. What they are really seeing is someone who has made peace with herself. Solitude sharpens awareness. Time alone allows her to think clearly, process emotions honestly, and grow without interference. This depth often makes conversations more meaningful when she does engage. But because society rewards constant visibility, her selective presence can be misunderstood. Resentment often disguises itself as concern. People ask why she is alone so often as if something is wrong. What they rarely ask themselves is why solitude feels so uncomfortable to them. In the end, her comfort with being alone is not rejection of others. It is acceptance of herself. And while that kind of self-sufficiency may not earn instant admiration, it earns something far more valuable: freedom from needing approval to feel complete. 7. They do not beg for friendships, and this quietly offends people who are used to being chased. In many social spaces, relationships are built on subtle bargaining. Attention is traded for acceptance. Effort is measured by how much someone pursues you. When a woman refuses to play this game, it disrupts the balance others rely on to feel important. The SpicyLady-Sigma lets connections grow naturally. She does not force closeness or overextend herself just to be included. If the effort is one-sided, she steps back without drama. To emotionally healthy people, this looks normal. To social manipulators, it feels like rejection. They interpret her calm withdrawal as disrespect rather than self-respect. Manipulative personalities depend on reaction. They want reassurance, pursuit, and emotional proof that they matter. When those signals do not come, their influence weakens. They cannot guilt her into staying. They cannot bait her with silence or approval. Instead of accepting this boundary, they take it personally. Consider a group where friendships are maintained through constant messaging and emotional labor. Most people comply because they fear being left out. The SpicyLady-Sigma does not flood conversations or chase attention. She contributes when it feels real and steps away when it does not. Suddenly whispers start. She is labeled proud, difficult, or unfriendly. The truth is simpler. She refuses to beg for space in rooms where she is not valued. Ignoring manipulation is often seen as an attack by those who rely on it. When she does not respond to passive aggression or emotional games, it strips those tactics of power. The resentment that follows is a defense mechanism. It protects fragile egos from confronting the fact that control no longer works. There is strength in choosing dignity over desperation. By not begging for friendship, she keeps her standards intact. She understands that real connection does not require convincing. If warmth is not mutual, she walks away without bitterness. Over time, this filters her circle. Those who respect her independence stay. Those who crave control remove themselves, often loudly. The backlash she faces is rarely about her behavior. It is about the loss of leverage others feel when they realize she cannot be manipulated. In the end, her refusal to chase people is not arrogance. It is clarity. Friendship should be an exchange of respect, not a performance for acceptance. And anyone threatened by that was never offering real connection in the first place. Point 8. They excel in private, and this quiet growth unsettles more people than loud success ever could. Society is used to progress being visible. People announce plans, share struggles, and broadcast every small win. When someone improves without an audience, it breaks the expectation that effort must be witnessed to be real. The SpicyLady-Sigma works when no one is watching. She studies, practices, reflects, and sharpens her abilities away from noise. There are no announcements, no hints, no need for reassurance. Then one day, the results show up. That sudden competence creates confusion. People feel as if they missed something, and that feeling quickly turns into envy. Silent progress threatens comfort zones. It reminds others how much time they spend talking instead of doing. When her skills appear fully formed, it forces comparison. Instead of asking how she did it, many assume shortcuts or luck. It is easier to question her process than to confront their own inconsistency. Picture someone who rarely speaks about their goals, then calmly delivers exceptional work when it matters. No build-up, no drama, just execution. Colleagues feel blindsided. Friends feel uneasy. They did not see the struggle, so they cannot measure themselves against it. The envy stays quiet but sharp. Private excellence also removes competition. There is no race when no one knows you are running. This independence allows her to develop at her own pace, free from pressure or external opinions. But to those who rely on constant comparison to feel motivated, this approach feels unfair. They want access to her journey, not just her outcome. What many miss is that private growth requires discipline. It demands patience, self-honesty, and the ability to work without applause. That kind of commitment is rare, which is why it attracts resentment. People respect loud grind because they can relate to the struggle. Quiet mastery exposes how often effort is performative. Over time, her consistency becomes undeniable. She does not need to explain herself because her results speak clearly. Some will admire it silently. Others will resent what they cannot replicate. In the end, excelling in private is not secrecy. It is focus. It protects her from distraction and comparison. And while silent envy may follow her success, it cannot touch the skills she built alone. What is earned in solitude cannot be taken by opinion. 9. They provoke reflection without effort, and that is one of the most uncomfortable things a person can experience. No lectures are given. No advice is forced. Nothing is pointed out directly. Yet something about their presence makes others start asking questions they have been avoiding. And most people do not like being forced into self-examination without consent. The SpicyLady-Sigma does not try to change anyone. She simply lives in alignment with her values, habits, and boundaries. That consistency becomes a quiet mirror. When someone sees her calm focus, her selective energy, or her disciplined choices, it highlights their own shortcuts and contradictions. This contrast creates inner tension. Imagine sitting next to someone who is content, grounded, and not scrambling for external reassurance. You start noticing how restless you feel. Or being around someone who keeps their word effortlessly makes you reflect on promises you delay or break. Nothing was said, yet the awareness stings. Instead of dealing with that discomfort, many people turn it outward. Humans often protect their self-image by rejecting the mirror rather than adjusting the reflection. It is easier to label someone as judgmental or strange than to confront habits that no longer feel honest. The spicy Lady Sigma becomes the problem not because she caused harm, but because she exposed a gap between who people are and who they believe themselves to be. This reaction is rarely conscious. People may feel irritated without knowing why. Conversations feel tense. Distance appears. The discomfort has no clear source. So, it gets projected onto her. She is accused of being cold or distant when the real issue is internal conflict. What makes this more intense is effortlessness. If she were trying to impress, others could dismiss it as performance. But she is not. Her way of being feels natural. That authenticity makes comparison unavoidable. People cannot tell themselves it is fake. So the reflection hits harder. Reflection requires responsibility. Growth demands change. Not everyone is ready for that. So resentment becomes a shield. By rejecting her, people avoid confronting themselves. In the end, her presence is not an attack. It is an invitation. An invitation to slow down, be honest, and realign. Some accept it quietly and grow. Others reject it loudly and resent her for what she represents. The mirror remains either way. And truth once seen does not disappear, just because it makes people uncomfortable. Point 10. They do not participate in drama, and that simple choice creates friction more often than anyone expects. In most social spaces, conflict is treated like entertainment. Gossip, arguments, and manipulation are quietly rewarded because they keep people engaged and connected. When someone refuses to join in, it disrupts the rhythm. The spicy Lady Sigma chooses calm over chaos, clarity over confusion, and honesty over performative emotion that makes her stand out in ways that are not always welcomed. Avoiding toxicity means she does not react to petty provocations. She does not amplify rumors, jump into arguments for attention, or fuel emotional games. To many, this behavior seems cold or distant. It is easier for people to label her as aloof than to confront the reality that they are the ones thriving on drama. Her detachment exposes the dependence others have on chaos to feel important or validated. Imagine a social group where minor conflicts spread like wildfire. People feed off reactions, escalate situations, and measure social dominance by who responds fastest. She observes quietly and does not engage. Over time, whispers start. She's called difficult, unapproachable, or indifferent. The problem is not her behavior. It is the reflection she forces upon the group. Her absence from drama highlights how unnecessarily chaotic the environment is. This outsider status can feel isolating to her, but it is a conscious choice. She values her energy and mental space more than temporary social approval. By refusing to play petty games, she protects her clarity and maintains her emotional sovereignty. Others may resent her for not following the same patterns, but that resentment often stems from discomfort, not injustice. Over time, the spicy Lady Sigma attracts those who appreciate honesty and substance while repelling those who thrive on superficial conflict. Drama loses its power over her because she never gives it a seat at her table. In a society obsessed with attention and validation, refusing to participate in drama is not weakness. It is strength. And while some may hate her for it, those who understand her approach learn that peace, focus, and self-respect are far more compelling than chaos. Final words: people rarely hate what is loud or obvious. They hate what quietly reminds them of what they are not. The truth is, being disliked first is rarely about who you are. It is about what you represent. A spicy Lady Sigma embodies clarity, independence, and integrity in ways that silently challenge those around her. She does not bend, gossip, or engage in chaos. And that consistency exposes the gaps in other people's lives, the compromises, the insecurities, and the dependence on approval. That exposure is uncomfortable, and humans instinctively resist discomfort. Hatred often comes before understanding. People react emotionally to traits they cannot control or predict. When someone prioritizes principles over opinion, purpose over popularity, and truth over appearances, it makes others feel small, uncertain, or powerless. They misread her boundaries, her calm, and her self-sufficiency as arrogance or coldness. In reality, it is simply discipline and self-respect. This early resistance is a kind of filter. It separates superficial admiration from genuine connection. Those who cling to envy, control, or manipulation will project resentment. But those who respect honesty and integrity will quietly observe and eventually align. The spicy Lady Sigma's strength lies not in forcing approval, but in living consistently with herself. Understanding this shifts perspective. Being disliked first is not a punishment. It is an indication that someone is doing something rare and difficult, living fully aligned with their values and vision. Hatred is often the first response to authenticity. Over time, clarity and consistency earn respect. Those who initially resent her may come to admire her, but more importantly, she remains untouchable to opinion, unaffected by judgment, and fully accountable only to herself. Being hated first is not failure. It is proof of rare authenticity, and it is a marker of quiet, unshakable power. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.